Picture the galaxy's most feared hunter, with a 100% success rate and tech that could track a whisper in a hurricane. Now drop him on Earth. Gravity's off, the air's wrong, and the local wildlife? Let's just say it's not what he trained for. He thought this was a simple capture mission. 3 million credits for the most dangerous criminal in 3 star systems. But Earth had other plans. The hunter became the hunted by, well, you'll see. You know, when you're the galaxy's top hunter, you expect your biggest problems to be cunning prey, not planetary physics. Krickstall lands with that perfect record, all 4 arms ready and tech that's never failed him. His stealth field hums, his bioscanners sweep the area, his targeting systems lock on. And then Earth happens, the gravity hits him first. His body, built for low-G precision hunting, suddenly feels like it's wrapped in lead weights. Each step requires adjustments his musculoskeletal system wasn't designed for. The air tastes acidic to his respiratory filters, carrying pollen and dust particles that clog his intake valves. His olfactory sensors, calibrated for the clean scents of vacuum-sealed space stations, overload on the riot of organic decay and plant pheromones. Even his predator presence fails completely. A squirrel runs straight toward him, stops 3 feet away, chatters angrily about nothing in particular, and scrambles up a tree without showing the slightest fear response. Deer don't bolt when he moves. They just stare blankly like he's some mildly interesting rock formation. His species' instinctual threat display, which makes most intelligent beings surrender immediately, gets 0 reaction from the local wildlife. His technology fares even worse. The camouflage system that renders him invisible against the geometric patterns of spaceship corridors and alien architecture can't handle the random chaos of forest textures. Against bark and leaf litter and dappled sunlight, he might as well be wearing neon orange. His sensors keep triggering false alerts. Every rustling leaf registers as potential movement. Every bird call is possible communication. His targeting computer keeps recalculating trajectories because Earth's atmosphere has density variations his systems can't predict. Wind currents shift unpredictably, temperature gradients create mirage effects, and even the planet's magnetic field interferes with his precision instruments. Each step requires 3 separate system recalculations just to maintain basic stability. The hunter's entire technological superiority means absolutely nothing against a world that wasn't designed with his kind in mind. All that perfect engineering, all those flawless hunts across controlled environments, none of it prepared him for the glorious, chaotic mess of an evolved biosphere. Which makes you wonder why his target specifically chose this particular planet to hide on. So Krickstall follows the scent trail into mountains that shouldn't exist on a planet with this level of technological development. He expects pristine hunting grounds, the kind of controlled wilderness his database shows for nature preserves on civilized worlds. Instead, he finds Appalachian chaos. The quarry's scent comes through strong and clear, chemical markers that would normally stand out like beacons against sterile environments. Problem is, Earth doesn't do sterile. The trail weaves through overlapping animal paths where deer, bears, raccoons, and God knows what else have all left their own competing scent signatures. Decaying vegetation creates a background aroma that muddles his readings, while sudden weather shifts, sun 1 minute, rain the next, keep altering how scent particles travel through the air. His tactical analysis keeps hitting dead ends. The target's path leads through terrain that defies all logical ambush points. Rock formations that look solid shift under his weight, sending gravel skittering down slopes. Streams change course depending on recent rainfall, creating new obstacles where his maps show dry land. Animal noises create a constant audio blanket. Bird calls, insect drones, rustling undergrowth that masks the subtle sounds of his quarry's movement. His drones become practically useless. The thick canopy cover tangles their flight paths, forcing them to navigate through gaps in leaves rather than flying clear reconnaissance patterns. Bird flocks keep triggering their collision avoidance systems, sending them into evasive maneuvers that waste power and disrupt scanning patterns. One drone gets mobbed by crows that apparently decided it looked like competition. Every environmental reading contradicts his database's predictions for a Class M planet. Atmospheric composition fluctuates with elevation changes. Soil density varies wildly within small areas. Temperature gradients don't follow the predictable patterns his thermal sensors were calibrated for. Even the planet's magnetic field has local anomalies that screw with his navigation systems. The hunter's entire methodical approach, analyze, predict, intercept, keeps failing against terrain that operates on organic chaos rather than predictable patterns. His probability algorithms can't process the environment where a fallen tree might redirect a trail, where afternoon thunderstorms can wash away scent trails entirely, where animal behavior introduces random variables every few minutes. Earth's wilderness doesn't follow rules so much as it follows opportunities, which brings us to the most unpredictable variable of all, the local wildlife that isn't just ignoring our hunter, but actively complicating his mission in ways he couldn't have anticipated. I mean, what do you do when your perfect ambush gets ruined by off-key singing? Just as Crickstall prepares to intercept his quarry at a narrow pass, a human voice shatters the forest quiet with a truly alarming rendition of some Broadway number. The hunter's audio filters immediately flag it as non-threat vocalization, but the damage is done. The sonic disruption completely masks the subtle footfalls of his actual target. Crickstall's sensors identify the human as one Dave Martinez, age 42, occupation unclear. Nothing in his profile suggests why this particular human would be hiking through difficult terrain while singing show tunes. His galactic database shows humans as either predictable corporate types or survival experts. This one falls somewhere between recreational enthusiast and performance artist. Dave doesn't just sing. He pauses to have actual conversations with rock formations, asking their opinion on trail conditions. He consults a cracked rectangular device that looks like primitive Earth technology yet somehow maintains signal connectivity, where Crickstall's military-grade comms repeatedly fail. The human's movement pattern defies all tactical analysis. He'll walk at a steady pace for exactly 17 minutes, then stop abruptly to examine a beetle crossing the path. His constant chatter, sometimes to himself, sometimes to birds, occasionally to his device, creates audio interference that completely obscures the subtle sounds Crickstall needs to track his quarry. The probability algorithms keep throwing errors when trying to predict Dave's next action because humans apparently don't follow logical behavioral patterns. That battered communication device becomes another point of frustration. It shouldn't work in this terrain. Crickstall's own systems struggle with the mountainous interference, but Dave's primitive technology somehow picks up weather updates, trail conditions, and what appears to be messages from other hikers. The hunter watches as the human checks the device, mutters, "Roger that, base camp," and changes direction for no apparent reason. Then there's the scent contamination. Every 100 meters or so, Dave pulls out a bag of trail mix and offers handfuls to squirrels, birds, even what appears to be a very suspicious-looking rock. These food offerings create concentrated scent zones that override the subtle chemical trail Crickstall's been following. The almonds, raisins, and chocolate particles saturate the air, making the quarry's scent signature nearly impossible to track. What should have been a simple avoidance maneuver turns into a logistical nightmare. Crickstall calculates 14 different paths around the human, but each one introduces new complications: denser vegetation, rockier terrain, or additional wildlife activity. The hunter's systems keep recalculating optimal routes only to have Dave's random movements render those calculations useless moments later. One man's eccentric hiking habits become the single biggest obstacle to a 3 million credit bounty. But as frustrating as this human interference seems, there's something more going on beneath the surface chaos. So there's Crickstall calculating optimal ambush vectors while Dave is offering trail mix to what appears to be a particularly interesting bush. The hunter watches from concealment, his forearms adjusting tactical positions as his systems analyze the human's seemingly random behavior patterns. What looks like nonsense slowly reveals itself as something else entirely, a kind of chaotic expertise that defies all his training. Dave's movements keep intersecting with the quarry's route in ways that shouldn't be possible. He pauses at rock formations that show subtle scratch marks indicating recent passage. His singing volume unconsciously rises when wind direction might carry sound toward potential predators, effectively masking any noise the hunter might make. The human's apparently one-sided conversations with trees and stones reveal observational skills Crickstall's sensors completely miss. He'll pat a boulder and remark about its unusual warmth compared to surrounding rocks, thermal variance indicating recent contact with a heat-emitting body. He notices which flowers have been recently disturbed, which moss patterns show compression from something passing through. His trail mix offerings aren't random either. He tosses nuts toward areas where animal activity could create natural surveillance, squirrels that might chatter at unusual movement, birds that might flush at approaching threats. The human's battered device, which Krickstall initially dismissed as primitive technology, actually provides hyper-local weather updates that help him anticipate scent drift conditions and sound propagation patterns. The hunter's systems keep trying to categorize Dave's behavior as either accidental or intentional, but the patterns don't fit either classification. It's not conscious strategy. The human clearly doesn't know he's following anything but a hiking trail. Yet his unconscious adjustments to pace, his spontaneous route changes, his constant environmental monitoring all serve to keep him aligned with the quarry's path while simultaneously complicating Krickstall's pursuit. Dave's intuitive understanding of the forest operates on a level beyond analytical processing. He reads subtle cues that machines can't quantify, the way light falls through canopy gaps indicating time of day and weather changes, soil composition variations that suggest stable footing versus potential slides, animal behavior patterns that signal nearby disturbance. His brain processes these inputs without conscious calculation, guiding his movements through terrain that his expensive hiking boots seem to understand better than Krickstall's alien physiology. What looks like chaotic hiking behavior is actually deep environmental literacy expressed through eccentric human patterns. The hunter's technology keeps missing the forest for the trees, literally. His sensors detect individual data points but can't process the holistic picture that Dave intuitively understands. The human's apparent randomness proves more effective at tracking than the galaxy's most advanced hunting systems. His trail mix diplomacy and rock conversations aren't distractions. They're part of an observational method that outscores technological analysis. You know how sometimes the worst security system is the one that's too random to predict? Krickstall keeps trying to establish ambush points along the quarry's projected route. He calculates optimal positions based on terrain features, wind patterns, and escape route analysis. His systems identify perfect concealment spots overlooking game trails, natural choke points where the target would have to slow down, secluded clearings that offer clean lines of sight. Dave's chaotic movement pattern keeps arriving at these strategic locations at precisely the worst possible moments. Just as Krickstall positions himself for the perfect interception, the human comes marching through singing show tunes loud enough to alert every creature within half a mile. The sudden burst of sound acts like an early warning system, prompting the quarry to change direction or seek cover before the hunter can execute his approach. The trail mix offerings create another layer of accidental defense. Local wildlife that might otherwise serve as natural surveillance, squirrels that would chatter at unusual movement, birds that would flush at approaching threats, become distracted by food offerings. Instead of reacting to Krickstall's presence, they focus on scavenging almonds and raisins, effectively blinding the forest's natural alarm system. Dave's constant self-talk and apparent consultations with inanimate objects make him seem mentally unstable to potential predators. Most animals instinctively avoid creatures displaying erratic behavior, and this extends to Krickstall's quarry as well. The target keeps altering its route to maintain distance from what appears to be an unpredictable human, inadvertently steering clear of the hunter's carefully planned ambush points. Even the human's clumsy hiking technique works against the hunter's strategy. Dave stumbles over roots, takes unexpected detours around muddy patches, and pauses to adjust his equipment at random intervals. These unpredictable movements mean he never follows the obvious paths that Krickstall's tactical systems predict. The hunter keeps setting up along what should be the natural route, only to have Dave emerge from some unlikely direction that nobody would logically choose. The combination creates a protective buffer that military strategy couldn't design better. Sonic disruption, wildlife distraction, psychological deterrence, and random path selection all work together to shield the quarry without anyone involved realizing it's happening. Dave's complete lack of awareness about the hunt actually makes his defense more effective. There's no pattern to analyze because he's not following any pattern at all. Krickstall finds himself facing something far more frustrating than sophisticated security measures. He's up against pure, uncalculated chance manifested through human eccentricity. Every tactical advantage he possesses gets neutralized by someone who's just out for a hike and doesn't know he's participating in an interstellar manhunt. The galaxy's most advanced hunter keeps getting outmaneuvered by a man who talks to rocks and sings show tunes. This accidental defense system proves more effective than any security detail could ever be. It doesn't just protect the target, it completely obscures the fact that protection is even happening. The quarry moves through the forest with an invisible shield of chaos surrounding it, safe precisely because nobody could predict that this particular human would become its unwitting guardian. So what creature could possibly be worth more than some planetary governments? Krikstal reviews the bounty briefing during a rare moment of stillness, his forehand scrolling through the most wanted profile in 3 star systems. The file paints a picture of absolute menace, destruction of mining colonies, corporate sabotage on an unprecedented scale, evasion of galactic law enforcement across 17 jurisdictions. The psychological profile suggests a ruthless operator with calculated precision, someone who plans moves 10 steps ahead and leaves entire economies in ruins. Standard criminal analysis indicates sophisticated knowledge of security systems and corporate operations. The target allegedly bypassed military-grade defenses, manipulated financial networks, and disappeared from maximum security facilities without leaving traces. The bounty notice comes with shoot-on-sight authorization and warnings about extreme danger to anyone attempting capture. The compensation reflects the risk. 3 million credits, enough to retire on a luxury planetoid. Yet the physical evidence tells a different story entirely. The trail Krikstal's been following shows signs of fear rather than confidence. Broken branches at chest height indicate something small moving quickly without regard for stealth. Footprints show uneven weight distribution suggesting injury or exhaustion. Scent markers carry stress pheromones that don't match the profile of a calculated operator. The quarry moves in erratic patterns, doubling back frequently, choosing concealment over strategic positioning. Energy readings show minimal power signatures where the profile predicts advanced technology. Thermal traces indicate a body temperature fluctuating with stress and fatigue. The target rests in poorly chosen locations with limited escape routes, something a seasoned operative would never do. Movement patterns suggest desperation rather than tactical evasion. Short bursts of panicked speed followed by long periods of immobility. Every piece of field evidence contradicts the database profile. The galaxy's most wanted behaves less like a predator and more like prey running for its life. The destruction attributed to this creature would require resources and planning that don't align with the exhausted, frightened being leaving these traces. Krikstal's tactical systems keep flagging the discrepancies, but can't resolve the contradiction between the official briefing and the physical evidence. The hunter starts questioning whether he's tracking the right being at all. The bounty notice shows images of catastrophic damage, collapsed mining structures, destroyed corporate facilities, security forces overwhelmed. But the creature actually moving through this forest leaves signs of something small, vulnerable, and clearly terrified. The disconnect grows with every kilometer of pursuit, creating cognitive dissonance that even his advanced systems can't process. The galaxy's deadliest criminal, according to the files, behaves like a frightened animal according to the evidence. Krikstal's tactical assessment keeps shifting from threat neutralization to something approaching concern. The shooting authorization seems increasingly inappropriate for a target that shows no offensive capability whatsoever. But the hunter's professional training insists he trusts the official. Documentation over his own observations, which makes the moment his sensors finally pinpoint the target's exact location all the more startling. After days of tracking conflicting evidence, the hunter finally gets visual confirmation of what he's been pursuing. The reality proves far stranger than anything in the bounty briefing. I mean, imagine expecting a ruthless criminal and finding that. Krikstal's sensors finally pinpoint the energy signature to a small clearing, where a stream cuts through ancient rock formations. His targeting systems lock on, weapon systems engage. Tactical analysis runs through 14 combat scenarios. Then his visual sensors resolve the image and everything stops. Instead of some dangerous interstellar felon, he sees a small creature no larger than an earth raccoon, with 6 delicate legs and fur that shifts colors like oil on water. It's a Luminian, a species known for environmental sensitivity, not criminal activity. The being huddles against a moss-covered rock, its iridescent fur matted with mud and what appears to be dried fluid from some injury. Its multiple eyes show wide-pupilled fear, not calculated aggression. The creature trembles visibly, making no attempt to conceal itself properly despite clearly being terrified. Movement analysis confirms what the visual shows. The target displays pure flight behavior, cowering posture, rapid breathing, limbs tucked protectively. There's no tactical positioning, no defensive preparations, no sign of the sophisticated combat training mentioned in the bounty profile. Energy readings show minimal power output, barely enough to sustain basic life functions. The creature's biosignatures indicate exhaustion, dehydration, and what his medical scanner identifies as both physical trauma and psychological distress. Environmental sensors detect 0 weapon signatures, no concealed technology, no energy fields. The being's attempts to hide consist of pressing itself against natural cover, rather than using any advanced concealment methods. It makes small, pathetic sounds that register as distress calls rather than threats. Thermal imaging shows body temperature fluctuations consistent with shock and fatigue. The hunter's combat systems keep trying to align this reality with the bounty profile. 3 million credits for something that looks like it would have trouble opening a food container. The disconnect between the official documentation and the actual being becomes impossible to ignore. This isn't a dangerous criminal, it's a frightened refugee showing all the signs of trauma and exhaustion. Krickstall's tactical assessment shifts from threat, neutralization to something approaching concern. His weapon systems disengage automatically as threat probability drops below actionable levels. The shooting authorization that seemed reasonable against a galaxy-threatening criminal now feels grotesquely inappropriate. The hunter finds himself analyzing escape routes for the creature, rather than capture vectors. The evidence becomes undeniable. Whoever filed this bounty either misidentified the target or deliberately misrepresented the situation. This small, vulnerable being couldn't have destroyed mining colonies or outmaneuvered galactic law enforcement. The hunter's professional certainty cracks as he realizes he's been hunting a victim, not a villain. The galaxy's most wanted appears to be its most wrongfully accused, which makes what happens next even more remarkable. Just as Krickstall processes this revelation, Dave comes crashing through the undergrowth, still singing off-key but about to demonstrate why humans might be the galaxy's most unpredictable species when encountering something that clearly doesn't belong in their woods. So there's Dave, who moments ago was murdering show tunes with alarming enthusiasm, now dropping his voice to something soft and gentle. He freezes mid-step when he spots the creature, his hiking boots going quiet on the leaf litter. The change is instantaneous. His whole posture shifts from chaotic hiker to something protective and calm. He doesn't reach for his phone or make sudden movements, just watches the trembling Luminian with careful attention. He approaches the way you might approach a nervous animal, keeping his body angled sideways to appear smaller. His voice drops to a near whisper, the show tunes replaced by quiet reassurances that mean nothing to the alien but everything in their tone. "Hey there, little guy. You're a long way from home, aren't you?" He keeps a respectful distance, giving the creature space to flee if needed, rather than trapping it against the rock. His body language broadcasts safety instead of threat assessment. He keeps his hands visible and relaxed, avoids direct eye contact that might read as challenging, and moves with deliberate slowness. Everything about his demeanor says, "I'm not here to hurt you," in a universal language that transcends species. He even positions himself between the creature and the direction he came from, instinctively creating a barrier against whatever might be following it. The trail mix suddenly transforms from snack to peace offering. Dave slowly reaches into his pocket and pulls out a handful, scattering some a few feet away while keeping a few pieces in his open palm. He doesn't throw them directly at the creature, just places them where they can be approached safely. The gesture isn't about feeding, it's about demonstrating harmless intent through universal food offering behavior. Krickstall watches from concealment, his tactical systems trying to process this behavior. Nothing in his training covers this response to an unknown alien species. The human shows no fear, no aggression, no attempt to capture or even clearly identify what he's looking at. Dave's entire focus is on making the frightened creature feel safe, using instinctive empathy that operates on a level beyond tactical analysis. The hunter's mission parameters keep flashing reminders about the 3 million credit bounty, the shoot-on-sight authorization, the classified threat level. But the reality before him shows a vulnerable being, and a human responding with protective instinct rather than fear or aggression. Dave's actions suggest he doesn't see a dangerous criminal. He sees something lost and frightened that needs help. This creates a fundamental conflict between professional duty and observed reality. Krickstall's weapons systems remain disengaged because his threat assessment algorithms can't reconcile the bounty profile with the actual situation. The human's behavior validates what the hunter's own observations have been suggesting. This isn't a capture mission. It's a rescue situation disguised as a bounty hunt. Dave's empathy operates on a frequency that galactic law enforcement training never covered. His response isn't calculated or strategic. It's immediate and instinctive. He doesn't need to analyze the creature's origins or capabilities to know it's frightened and needs gentleness. This intuitive understanding proves more accurate than all of Krickstall's advanced technology and professional training combined. The human's simple, compassionate response raises uncomfortable questions about what exactly the hunter was hired to do and why the official documentation seems so completely wrong about the nature of the target, which makes you wonder what other information might have been deliberately falsified in that bounty briefing. You know how sometimes the real crime isn't what someone did, but what they witnessed? Krickstall accesses the restricted corporate databases using his hunter clearance, bypassing the public-facing layers that show the official story. His security clearance gets him into the incident reports, the environmental impact assessments, the internal communications that never made it to galactic authorities. The truth unfolds in data streams and classified memos that tell a completely different story from the bounty briefing. The mining colonies weren't destroyed by sabotage, they were evacuated under emergency protocols when corporate negligence caused catastrophic environmental collapse. The company had been using illegal extraction methods that destabilized entire ecosystems, ignoring safety protocols to maximize profit margins. When the damage became irreversible, they ordered emergency evacuations and then claimed the abandoned facilities were destroyed by extremist activists. The so-called environmental catastrophe was actually corporate misconduct on a galactic scale. Internal documents show executives knew the mining techniques would cause irreversible damage within standard operating timelines. They calculated the profit margins against potential fines and decided the financial risk was acceptable. When the ecosystems actually collapsed faster than predicted, they needed scapegoats rather than admitting fault. The Harmony Keeper wasn't attacking operations. It was documented in internal reports as trying to protect its native ecosystem. Sensor logs show the creature triggering environmental alarms when extraction processes reached dangerous levels. It attempted to disrupt operations that were causing seismic instability and atmospheric contamination. Corporate security footage shows the being trying to damage equipment that was actively harming the environment, not attacking personnel or facilities. Corporate interests deliberately labeled witnesses as criminals to hide their environmental crimes. The Harmony Keeper had documented the negligence through its unique bio-recording abilities. Its very presence created irrefutable evidence of the ecological damage. Rather than address the violations, the company filed false reports claiming the being was a dangerous saboteur. The 3 million credit bounty was essentially hush money with clause, enough to guarantee professional hunters would eliminate the evidence without asking questions. Krickstall's professional ethics collide with this new information. His entire career operates on accepting bounties at face value. Hunters aren't investigators, they're contractors who fulfill contracts based on provided intelligence. But this goes beyond faulty intelligence into deliberate deception. The realization hits that he's been hired to capture a witness who could expose corporate crimes, not a criminal who committed them. The hunter's tactical systems keep trying to reconcile the mission parameters with the uncovered truth. His combat programming insists on completing the contract, while his analytical functions scream about the ethical violations. The disconnect between professional duty and moral responsibility creates a system conflict that even his advanced processing can't resolve smoothly. Krickstall understands now why the creature chose Earth. It's the kind of chaotic, undocumented world where corporate influence means little and local ecosystems protect their own. The Appalachian wilderness, with its unpredictable patterns and independent-minded humans, makes perfect sense as a hiding place from galactic corporations. Which makes you wonder how many other witnesses might be hiding on similar backwater planets, and what other corporate secrets they might be carrying. So Dave accidentally became an interstellar diplomat without leaving his favorite trail. Krickstall steps from the tree line, his camouflage flickering off to reveal forearms and alien features that should trigger panic. Dave just blinks, lowers his trail mix bag, and says, "Well, that explains the weird feeling I've been getting all morning." No screaming, no running, just calm assessment of the situation like he encounters alien hunters every Tuesday. The hunter explains the bounty, the corporate deception, the 3 million credit reward, Dave listens while occasionally tossing almonds to a curious chipmunk, his focus shifting between the trembling Luminian and the four-armed being describing interstellar politics. His response isn't fear or anger, but genuine curiosity about how corporate responsibility works across star systems. So let me get this straight. They messed up their own mining operation and now they're trying to blame this little guy? He gestures toward the creature with his trail mix bag instead of pointing, keeping the movement non-threatening. His questions focus entirely on practical implications rather than galactic scale issues. What does it eat? Is it injured? Does it need water? He ignores the interplanetary legal ramifications to concentrate on the being's immediate well-being. The 3 million credits mean less to him than whether the creature looks dehydrated. His concerns operate on a human scale: comfort, safety, basic needs, while Krikstal's training emphasizes contractual obligations and professional consequences. Dave offers solutions based on local knowledge rather than protocol. There's a wildlife preserve about 10 miles northeast. Federal protection, no mining rights, strict environmental regulations. His hiking experience suddenly becomes relevant to interstellar refugee situations. He knows which trails are least monitored, which rangers might look the other way, which areas have the right terrain and water sources. His suggestions come from years of walking these mountains rather than studying galactic law. The human's approach creates an unexpected resolution path that bypasses formal systems entirely. While Krikstal's training says, complete the contract or face professional consequences, Dave's perspective says, help the being that needs help. His moral framework doesn't recognize corporate jurisdiction over basic decency. The fact that a massive interstellar corporation wants this creature captured matters less than the fact that it's clearly frightened and injured. Dave's humanity operates outside formal legal structures, but within deeper ethical frameworks that transcend species. His simple questions about right and wrong carry more weight than volumes of galactic regulations. The hunter finds himself considering options his training never covered. Not how to complete the mission, but how to do what's right despite the professional consequences. This backwoods diplomacy proves more effective than any formal negotiation might have been. Krikstal's moment of decision arrives not as a tactical choice, but as a moral one. The human's straightforward ethics create clarity where galactic law created confusion, which makes the hunter's next move surprisingly simple despite the complex circumstances. I mean, what's 3 million credits compared to being the guy who captures refugees? Krikstal faces the professional decision that could end his career: complete the contract or walk away from everything. His reputation as the galaxy's top hunter, his entire retirement fund, his professional identity all depend on delivering this bounty. The client will absolutely blacklist him if he fails. Future contracts will dry up, his standing in hunter guilds will plummet, and that comfortable retirement planetoid becomes a distant dream. Hunter ethics manuals emphasize completing contracts regardless of personal feelings. The code stresses professional detachment, adherence to client intelligence, and fulfillment of agreed-upon terms. His training says the morality of the bounty isn't his concern. His job is execution, not judgment. The system operates on trust that clients provide accurate information and hunters deliver results. Breaking that trust undermines the entire professional hunting industry, yet his moral conscience argues fiercely against participating in a corporate cover-up. The evidence shows clear deception, a vulnerable witness being hunted to conceal corporate crimes. His tactical assessment confirms the creature poses no threat, shows no aggression, and displays only fear and exhaustion. The 3 million credits represent payment for silencing evidence, not capturing a criminal. The Harmony Keeper's vulnerability contrasts sharply with the client's deception. The small being trembles against the rock while corporate documents show calculated environmental destruction on a galactic scale. The creature tries to protect ecosystems while the company tries to protect profit margins. Krikstal's weapon systems remain disengaged because they can't identify any legitimate threat to justify their use. His professional programming conflicts with emerging ethical calculations. The hunter's analytical systems keep trying to prioritize contractual obligations, while his observational data screams about moral violations. The disconnect creates processing errors that his neural interfaces can't resolve smoothly. Part of him wants to follow training. Another part recognizes he's been manipulated into becoming an enforcer for corporate corruption. Dave's simple human morality provides unexpected clarity. The hiker's focus on helping rather than capturing, protecting rather than pursuing offers a different ethical framework. His concern for the creature's well-being outweighs any consideration of galactic politics or professional consequences. This straightforward approach bypasses complex calculations with simple compassion. Crickstall makes his choice. He transmits the abort code to his client system, formally withdrawing from the contract. The 3 million credits vanish from his account. His professional record shows a failed mission for the first time in his career. Hunter Guild systems immediately flag his status for review. The client blacklisting protocols activate automatically, but the creature stops trembling when he powers down his weapons completely. The Harmony Keeper's fear pheromones decrease noticeably. His systems detect the first signs of relaxation in the being since he began tracking it. The professional consequences feel distant compared to the immediate rightness of protecting rather than capturing. He chooses mercy over money, protection over pursuit. The hunter becomes guardian in a single decision that rewrites his entire professional identity. The galaxy's most successful predator just failed his most lucrative contract because he refused to capture a refugee, which makes you wonder where something this valuable could possibly find safety when interstellar corporations want it silenced. So Dave knows exactly where corporate interests won't find this little guy. The hiker points northeast toward a protected wildlife preserve he's been exploring for years. His battered boots have covered every inch of those trails, and his understanding of the area's protections goes deeper than any database entry. What seems like an ordinary conservation zone to galactic eyes actually offers the perfect sanctuary against interstellar corporate reach. The preserve operates under environmental protections that predate space travel regulations. No mining rights exist within its boundaries. The land was permanently designated for conservation centuries ago, under laws that even interstellar corporations can't easily challenge. Hunting permits don't apply here either, as all wildlife falls under strict protection statutes. Local authorities guard these designations fiercely, viewing corporate interference as outside jurisdiction. They respect sanctuary status more than galactic claims, often ignoring off-world legal demands that conflict with terrestrial environmental laws. The terrain itself provides natural protection. The preserve's ecosystem resembles the Harmony Keeper's native environment, closely enough for adaptation. Similar mineral compositions in the rock formations, compatible atmospheric conditions and water sources with comparable pH levels. The creature could thrive here while remaining concealed within a familiar ecological context. Dave's extensive knowledge of backtrails offers secret access routes that avoid official monitoring stations. He knows which game trails remain unpatrolled, which creek beds provide cover, and which rock formations create natural shelters. The preserve's isolation works in their favor. Limited satellite coverage, minimal human traffic outside designated trails, and rugged terrain that discourages thorough searches make it ideal for hiding from both corporate and galactic attention. The area's microclimates and magnetic anomalies create sensor interference that would frustrate any technological tracking attempts. Local rangers focus on preventing poaching and maintaining trails rather than enforcing interstellar warrants. Dave's plan seems almost too simple against the scale of galactic corporate power. Yet sometimes humble solutions work precisely because they operate outside expected parameters. Corporate hunters would search spaceports and advanced facilities, not remote terrestrial wildlife preserves. The very ordinariness of the location becomes its greatest defense. Earth's patchwork of local environmental protections, managed by officials who care more about conservation than interstellar politics, creates an unexpected safe zone. The best hiding place often sits in plain sight, protected not by advanced technology but by centuries of terrestrial environmental law and the people who enforce them. This particular patch of wilderness, unknown to galactic databases and overlooked by corporate interests, becomes the perfect refuge for a being that witnessed corporate crimes on an interstellar scale. While massive resources get deployed searching space stations and colony worlds, the Harmony Keeper finds safety 10 miles from where humans hike on weekends. But there's still the matter of the hunter who just walked away from 3 million credits and his entire professional identity. Crickstall stands there with failed systems and a rewritten moral compass, watching Dave prepare to guide the creature to safety. The galaxy's most successful predator now faces the question of what comes after you abandon everything you've built your life around. You know how sometimes the universe gives you a new career path along with your moral crisis? Crickstall watches Dave lead the Harmony Keeper toward the preserved trailhead, then turns to face the empty forest with all his systems offline. His professional identity as the ultimate hunter no longer fits the person he just became. That clean efficiency, that flawless record, that entire framework of pursuit and capture feels like someone else's life now. Earth's environment, which hours ago seemed like a chaotic, frustrating mess, suddenly holds a different kind of appeal. The gravity that made his forearms feel heavy now suggests physical challenge rather than inconvenience. The complex air chemistry that clogged his filters carries intriguing biological signatures worth studying rather than avoiding. The erratic wildlife behavior presents puzzles instead of obstacles. Dave's offhand recommendations about good hiking trails take on new significance. They represent a different way to engage with wilderness that doesn't end with something captured or neutralized. The trees and trails shift from potential hunting grounds to places of discovery. His sensors, once calibrated for threat assessment and tactical advantage, could be reconfigured to analyze ecological patterns and biological diversity. The Appalachian terrain that frustrated his pursuit now offers endless opportunities for observation without objective. His therapist's advice about achieving professional balance seems irrelevant, compared to simply walking without purpose, observing without analyzing, being present without hunting. The predator's mindset that served him across 17 star systems no longer fits this new reality. His combat programming keeps trying to calculate ambush points and escape routes out of habit, but the urgency has drained away. The constant tactical assessment that defined his existence feels unnecessary when there's no bounty to collect, no client to satisfy, no professional reputation to maintain. The freedom of having no mission proves both terrifying and exhilarating. Crickstall considers that maybe the best prey isn't something you capture, but something you understand. The satisfaction of completing a contract and collecting payment can't compare to the quiet satisfaction of protecting something that needed protection. His systems, designed for precision hunting, might actually serve better as tools for comprehension rather than capture. The same technology that tracked targets could document ecosystems, that analyzed threats could study behaviors, that calculated trajectories could map environmental changes. He watches a hawk circle overhead without trying to predict its flight path for interception. He notices how morning light filters through leaves without assessing it for concealment value. He feels the uneven ground beneath his feet without calculating optimal footing for pursuit. The forest becomes a place to exist within, rather than move through toward an objective. The ultimate hunter starts wondering if he can learn to be something else entirely. An observer, a student, perhaps even a guardian. The professional consequences of his choice will catch up eventually. Guild notifications will demand explanations. Client blacklists will take effect. His reputation will shift from legendary to questionable. But standing here in the Appalachian quiet, those concerns feel distant compared to the immediate reality of sunlight through trees and the sound of a stream somewhere down the slope. Maybe failure isn't about broken contracts, but about broken perspectives. So it turns out singing show tunes to rocks contains more wisdom than tactical databases. Crickstall reviews the mission data as Dave's fading footsteps echo down the trail, comparing the human's chaotic approach against his own failed strategy. The evidence becomes undeniable. Every seemingly foolish action actually served a strategic purpose the hunter's systems couldn't quantify. Dave's intuition about terrain, his empathy toward the creature, his adaptability to changing conditions all outperformed technology designed specifically for hunting. Human intuition proved more effective than algorithmic prediction. Where Crickstall's systems calculated optimal paths based on terrain analysis, Dave simply felt which routes felt right. His random pauses at rock formations weren't distractions. They were unconscious recognition of subtle environmental cues. His singing wasn't just noise. It created sonic cover that disrupted the hunter's audio tracking while alerting wildlife to potential danger. The human's lack of professional training became his greatest asset because he operated outside predictable patterns. Local knowledge completely outweighed galactic intelligence. Dave's understanding of this specific patch of forest, gained through years of casual hiking, proved more valuable than databases containing millions of planetary profiles. He knew which rock formations were stable, which streams were seasonal, which animal behaviors indicated recent disturbances. His battered communication device connected to local networks that interstellar systems couldn't access, giving him real-time information about trail conditions and weather changes. Compassion achieved what force couldn't. The human's immediate, protective response to the frightened creature created a bond that no threat assessment could quantify. His gentle approach, his trail mix offerings, his careful body language all communicated safety in a universal language that transcended species barriers. This emotional intelligence proved more effective for handling the situation than any combat protocol or restraint technology. Chaos theory provided better defense than planned strategy. Dave's unpredictable movements, random stops, and erratic pace created a protective buffer that military tactics couldn't penetrate. His behavior was too random to analyze, too organic to predict, too human to fit into any tactical model. The very things that frustrated Kriegstall's systems actually formed the perfect defense mechanism. The resolution becomes clear. Sometimes not knowing the rules lets you rewrite them completely. Dave's complete ignorance of galactic politics, corporate structures, and professional hunting protocols allowed him to approach the situation with fresh perspective. He didn't see a bounty to capture or a contract to fulfill. He saw a being that needed help and a problem to solve. This simplicity cut through layers of complexity that had tangled the hunter's advanced systems. Humanity's place in the galaxy might be less about technological advancement and more about this unpredictable blend of intuition, adaptability, and compassion. Their strength isn't in following established systems, but in creating new approaches that existing systems can't account for. The galaxy's most advanced hunter got outmaneuvered by someone who considered this just another interesting day on the trails, which brings us to Kriegstall's final decision about how to handle the professional consequences of choosing morality over money. The hunter stands at a crossroads between his old life and whatever comes next, with only the echo of show tunes and the memory of human wisdom to guide him. I mean, when was the last time the galaxy's deadliest predator apologized for being in the way? Kriegstall steps from the shadows with all four hands open and empty, his camouflage systems completely disengaged. He doesn't approach like a hunter anymore. No tactical positioning, no weapon system cycling, no threat assessment protocols running. His movements carry the awkwardness of someone unlearning a lifetime of training in real time. He explains his mission to Dave not as justification but as confession. The words come out stilted through his vocal modulator, carrying the weight of professional shame. He describes the bounty, the corporate briefing, the 3 million credits, but frames it all as participation in something unjust. The apology isn't for failing the mission. It's for ever accepting it in the first place. For bringing weapons to something that needed compassion. For viewing a refugee as a target. For almost becoming the enforcement arm of corporate corruption. He acknowledges the absurdity of his position with painful clarity. The galaxy's most successful hunter, armed with technology that could track neutrinos in a solar flare, outmaneuvered by a human with trail mix and show tunes. His professional expertise meant nothing against Dave's simple moral compass. The hunter becomes student to the hiker's accidental wisdom, recognizing that sometimes the most advanced technology is knowing when not to use your weapons. His four-armed, camouflaged presence suddenly seems less threatening than the corporate greed that sent him here. The alien hunter who terrified countless beings across star systems now stands revealed as just another participant in a system he didn't question until it confronted him with undeniable humanity. Dave listens while quietly offering another handful of trail mix to the Harmony Keeper. His response is uncomplicated as his approach to everything else. The tension shifts from predator-prey dynamics to something more nuanced. Two completely different beings from opposite ends of technological development find common ground in protecting something vulnerable. The hunter's advanced systems and the human's intuitive understanding could combine into something neither could achieve alone. Kriegstall's technology could provide protection while Dave's local knowledge offers concealment. Their opposing approaches suddenly complement rather than conflict. The resolution lands with quiet certainty. Sometimes the most dangerous thing to hunt is your own assumptions. Kriegstall spent his career believing professional detachment was strength and emotional engagement was weakness. Dave demonstrated that true strength lies in recognizing when to abandon protocol for principle. The hunter's entire worldview shifts from calculating risks and rewards to considering right and wrong. His systems reboot with new parameters that prioritize ethical considerations over contractual obligations. But just when it seems the story has reached its conclusion, Krikstal's sensors pick up something his initial mission briefing completely omitted. The environmental disaster the Harmony Keeper witnessed wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a pattern so widespread that protecting one witness might actually trigger galactic-scale consequences. The corporate cover-up extends far beyond this single creature, or even this particular mining operation, suggesting systemic corruption that could affect multiple star systems and thousands of species. So how big was this environmental disaster they were trying to hide? Krikstal makes one last database dive before cutting his corporate access completely. His hunter clearance gets him into the environmental impact reports that never reached galactic oversight committees. The full scale of negligence unfolds across multiple star systems, each document more damning than the last. This wasn't just one mining operation cutting corners. This was systemic ecological vandalism on an unprecedented scale. The affected regions span 17 inhabited systems with thousands of native species facing potential extinction. Corporate reports deliberately mislabeled entire ecological collapses as criminal sabotage. They claimed radical environmentalists destroyed mining infrastructure, when in reality, their own unsafe practices caused irreversible habitat destruction. The Harmony Keeper represented just one witness among dozens who documented the damage through various means: biological recording, sensor data collection, observational testimony. Other refugees faced similar hunting campaigns across the galaxy. Krikstal's network access reveals bounties placed on journalists, scientists, even corporate whistleblowers who'd gathered evidence of environmental crimes. The 3 million credit reward for the Luminian was actually on the low end. Some bounties reached 8 figures for individuals who could expose the full scope of corruption. The hunter recognizes patterns he'd previously ignored: targets who didn't fit criminal profiles, missions that felt ethically questionable, clients who demanded unusual discretion. The financial scale becomes staggering when he calculates cleanup costs versus bounty payments. The environmental damage would require trillions of credits to remediate across all affected systems. The bounties represented pocket change compared to potential fines and restoration expenses. Corporate strategy clearly favored silencing witnesses over addressing the actual problems. They spent more money hunting truth-tellers than fixing their ecological disasters. The question becomes whether saving one creature can possibly matter against this scale. One witness protected seems insignificant when dozens remain threatened. One truth preserved feels small against countless lies circulating through galactic media. The corporate machine will continue operating whether this particular Luminian survives or not. Their resources far exceed anything one hunter or one hiker could possibly counter. Yet the resolution lands with quiet certainty. Sometimes protecting one witness is the first step toward revealing truth. Every cover-up begins to unravel with a single thread pulled. The Harmony Keeper's testimony, combined with the evidence Krikstal extracted, could trigger investigations that reach far beyond this single incident. The hunter's decision to abandon his mission might inspire other professionals to question questionable contracts. Dave's simple act of compassion could demonstrate that galactic problems sometimes have human-scale solutions. The corporate deception relies on silence and compliance. Each person who refuses to participate weakens their control. Each witness protected creates another opportunity for truth to emerge. The scale of corruption seems overwhelming until you realize it's maintained by countless small choices, rather than invincible power. Saving one being matters precisely because the system depends on nobody caring enough to save any, which makes Krikstal's next decision about his professional future surprisingly significant. How he chooses to move forward from this failed mission could influence whether other hunters start asking uncomfortable questions about their contracts. His career shift from predator to protector might demonstrate that even the most entrenched systems can change when individuals choose ethics over income. The galactic hunting community pays attention when someone with his record breaks pattern. You know how sometimes the thing you're best at isn't the thing you should be doing. Krikstal could still file an eluding capture report. The Hunters Guild accepts that classification for targets that become impossible to locate through natural environmental factors. He could maintain his perfect record, keep his professional standing, and nobody would question the technical truth of the filing. The target did become untrackable due to Earth's chaotic ecosystem. His systems even prompt him to complete the paperwork automatically. Professional pride wars with his new moral understanding. The hunter's code emphasizes contract completion above all else. His entire identity has been built around flawless execution and professional detachment. Walking away from 3 million credits feels like abandoning not just a payout, but his entire reason for existing. The guild will question his judgment, clients will doubt his reliability, and his reputation will shift from legendary to questionable overnight. Yet his conscience keeps replaying Dave's simple response to the situation. The human didn't calculate risks or weigh professional consequences. He saw something that needed help and helped it. This straightforward morality feels more authentic than any hunter's code ever did. The tension between who he was, trained to be, and who he might become creates a system conflict that even his advanced processing can't resolve cleanly. His technology and skills could serve conservation rather than capture. The same sensors that track targets could monitor endangered species populations. His stealth systems could protect wildlife from poachers rather than help hunters approach prey. His analytical capabilities could study ecosystems instead of exploiting them. The tools of predation might actually serve preservation better than they ever served hunting. Earth's trails offer a different kind of challenge. Where hunting required conquering terrain for tactical advantage, hiking demands understanding it for its own sake. The Appalachian Mountains become less about optimal ambush points and more about noticing how light changes on autumn leaves. His systems could recalibrate from threat assessment to environmental appreciation without losing their essential functionality. Dave's casual recommendation to just hike sometime becomes profound advice. The human wasn't suggesting recreation, he was offering a different way to engage with the world. Moving through wilderness without objective, observing without analyzing, being present without hunting, these concepts never appeared in any hunter's training manual. They represent an entirely different relationship with the environment. The ultimate hunt might be for meaning rather than bounties. Kriegstall systems keep trying to calculate the probability of professional recovery versus the satisfaction of moral alignment. The numbers keep coming up inconclusive because some values can't be quantified in credits or reputation points. Sometimes the thing you're best at isn't what you should be doing. Sometimes it's just what you were trained to do before you knew there were other options. An apex predator can become a guardian if he chooses to redefine what protection means. The skills that made him deadly could make him protective. The instincts that served pursuit could serve preservation. The professional hunter who never failed a contract might become something more valuable, someone who knows when to abandon the hunt entirely. So Kriegstall decides maybe trees have better advice than his expensive therapist. The hunter watches Dave disappear down the trail with the Harmony Keeper, then powers down his systems one by one. His neural interface goes quiet for the first time in decades, the constant stream of tactical analysis and mission parameters fading to silence. He considers Dave's casual suggestion to just hike sometime, turning it over in his mind like an unfamiliar object. Professional therapy never addressed his moral conflicts, only his efficiency. Those expensive sessions focused on optimizing threat response times and maintaining emotional detachment during contracts. They taught him how to ignore ethical questions in favor of mission completion, how to rationalize any action if the credits were sufficient. None of that training helps now that he's questioning the entire foundation of his profession. The therapy protocols assumed the system was just and his role within it necessary. The forest offers silent reflection rather than programmed solutions. Without his systems analyzing every leaf rustle for tactical significance, the natural sounds become something else entirely. Wind through pine needles isn't data to process but music to experience. Animal movements aren't threats to assess but behaviors to observe. The uneven ground beneath his feet becomes a physical sensation rather than a stability calculation. His forearms learn to balance without combat programming, making constant adjustments. Walking without purpose provides different insights than hunting with focus. He follows no scent trail, pursues no target, achieves no objective beyond movement itself. His mind, freed from tactical calculations, begins noticing patterns he previously ignored. How morning light filters differently through various canopy densities, how animal behavior changes with weather shifts, how the forest operates as interconnected systems rather than individual data points. The constant pressure to perform, evaporates, leaving only the simple act of putting one foot in front of the other. Random encounters with nature teach more than tactical simulations. A spider building its web demonstrates patience his training never valued. A stream cutting through rock shows persistence over time, rather than force applied. Deer moving through undergrowth display awareness without aggression. These lessons can't be quantified in credits or success percentages, yet they feel more valuable than any bounty he's ever collected. The forest becomes his new training ground for something undefined, but fundamentally different from hunting. His sensors remain offline by choice now. The temptation to reactivate them fades with each step deeper into the wilderness. He discovers that sometimes the best technology is knowing when to stop using technology. His alien physiology, which felt clumsy and wrong hours earlier, begins adapting to Earth's rhythms without synthetic assistance. His forearms find balance points his systems never calculated. His respiratory filters adjust to process Earth's complex air chemistry naturally. The Appalachian trails transform from obstacles to opportunities. Steep climbs become challenges of endurance rather than tactical disadvantages. Dense vegetation offers concealment for contemplation rather than hunting. The chaotic biodiversity that frustrated his systems now presents endless discoveries worth noticing. He starts understanding what Dave meant about hiking for perspective. Sometimes you need to move through space without trying to conquer it. An apex predator learns that simply being present can be more valuable than being dominant. The constant assessment of threats and opportunities gives way to observation without judgment. His hunter's instinct to categorize everything as useful or dangerous relaxes into acceptance of things as they are. The trees don't offer advice so much as demonstrate how to exist, without constantly trying to achieve something, which makes you wonder what happens when the galaxy's deadliest hunter stops hunting and starts paying attention to the world around him. The professional who defined himself through capture and conquest might discover more value in protection and preservation. His advanced technology and training could serve purposes beyond contractual obligations. Sometimes the most sophisticated system is knowing when to walk away from all systems and just listen to what the forest has to say. I mean, that's the thing about humanity. They'll surprise you with what they consider normal. Crickstall stands there watching Dave's retreating form, realizing the human didn't see anything unusual about an alien hunter, apologizing for being in his way. The story concludes with the hunter's perspective fundamentally shifted about what actually constitutes capability in this messy, unpredictable universe. Galactic societies build themselves around specialization, advanced technology, and clear professional boundaries. You train for one thing, you master that thing, and you stay in your lane. Their systems prioritize efficiency over adaptability, precision over improvisation. Crickstall's entire existence followed that pattern. Perfect hunter, flawless record, defined role within established parameters. Humans operate on intuition, adaptability, and cross-domain thinking that looks like chaos to everyone else. Dave's hiking knowledge somehow became diplomatic skill when faced with an interstellar crisis. His snack offerings transformed into peace gestures without any conscious intention. His random trail conversations provided environmental intelligence that military-grade systems missed completely. Human resilience isn't about being tougher or stronger. It's about creative problem-solving, using whatever tools happen to be available. The galaxy's deadliest predator just got outmaneuvered by curiosity and trail mix. Crickstall's advanced technology, perfect record, and specialized training meant nothing against someone who approached the situation without preconceptions. The human's lack of formal training became his greatest asset because he hadn't learned what was supposedly impossible. His thinking wasn't constrained by professional boundaries or galactic conventions. This suggests something interesting about humanity's potential place in the broader galactic community. While other species develop increasingly specialized technology and strict social hierarchies, humans keep their options open. Their strength lies in not being experts at any one thing, but being decent at many things simultaneously. A hiker becomes a diplomat, a snack becomes a peace offering, show tunes become tactical cover. The resolution lands with quiet certainty. Sometimes the most advanced technology is knowing when to sing show tunes. Crickstall's systems could calculate trajectories and analyze threats, but they couldn't recognize when a situation needed compassion instead of combat. Dave's human intuition solved an interstellar crisis with trail mix and conversation because he recognized the real problem. Wasn't capture but protection. Human flexibility might be their greatest asset in a galaxy full of specialized experts. Their ability to apply hiking knowledge to diplomatic situations, or use snack foods as peace offerings, or turn random conversations into intelligence gathering, these aren't flaws in their development. They're features of a species that refuses to be limited by categories and specializations. The galaxy's rigid structures might actually need this kind of chaotic adaptability. Corporate corruption thrives in systems where everyone stays in their designated roles. Sometimes you need someone who'll use hiking experience to solve interstellar problems, because they don't know they're not supposed to work that way. Human creativity flourishes in the spaces between established disciplines, finding solutions where specialists see only boundaries. Krickstall's entire concept of capability gets rewritten, watching a human turn ordinary hiking into extraordinary diplomacy. The professional hunter with perfect technology realizes that sometimes the most sophisticated tool is a bag of trail mix and the willingness to offer some to a stranger. Human flexibility isn't about being better. It's about being different in ways that existing systems can't anticipate or categorize. The galaxy's most dangerous predator learned that true hunting means understanding what's worth protecting, not just what's worth capturing. Next time you're walking through the woods, remember, your ordinary hike might accidentally become somebody's diplomatic solution to an interstellar problem. Sometimes the most advanced technology isn't better sensors or weapons, but knowing when to apologize and change course entirely. That's the human advantage in a galaxy full of specialists. We solve problems with whatever we have handy, even if it's just trail mix and show tunes. Keep hiking, keep listening, and maybe talk to a few more rocks along the way.